Yeah, no, I'm super excited to get into this topic because honestly, Simulclimbing has transformed my climbing so much, but I'm never totally sure how dangerous I'm being.
1.
Oh, it broke. Well, we want to avoid worst case scenario, I guess.
Hi, this is Daniel from the Edelrid Knowledge Base. For the following video, we invited Tommy Caldwell to talk about Simul-Climbing and answer some of his questions regarding the risks that could be involved in this activity.
Can you maybe, before we get into the topic, can you maybe explain how you got into Simul-Climbing? Like what made you start this? And
yeah, I mean, I would say I'm following in the footsteps of some of the original speed climbers in Yosemite, like Hans Florine. He did a lot to innovate systems. It seems like a minor innovation in some ways, but I would say once I started climbing in this style, Simul-Climbing, all the mountains shrunk to half the size. Suddenly, instead of just climbing El Cap, we could climb El Cap, Half Dome, and Mount Watkins. I think it was a huge innovation in why Alex and I were able to be the first ones to do the Fitz Traverse. We started using this system in places like Patagonia, and all of a sudden we could climb these giant mountain ranges within the short weather windows. It really, really transformed my climbing in a pretty profound way on the climbing, in situations where the climbing wasn't the very top end. We're trying to cover a lot of ground, but the climbing isn't our very hardest climbing.
Can you explain the short fixing again, the Stone Age techniques?
Yeah, so short fixing generally means that you have usually we use 60-meter ropes, right? So you climb 30 meters or so, and that means there's 30 meters left of rope in the system. So when you get to an anchor, you pull up that extra 30 meters, you fix it to the anchor, and then you just start climbing self-belay. A lot of times if you're going fast, that just means no belay. On the bottom section of the ropes, they use Jumars. So effectively, you're both always moving upward. Yeah. But you have to stop and pull up the rope. And the first person is really shouldering the majority of the risk in that situation because they're climbing with the death loop.
When climbing without a PCD simultaneously, the lead climber and the second climber attempt to climb on a 30 to 50 meter piece of rope at the same time, keeping the slack in the rope to a minimum and always clipping as many good intermediate anchors between them as possible. If the lead climber falls, the system behaves as it would in a normal lead climber fall. However, if the second climber falls, the fall load is applied directly to the lead climber's harness, which will most likely pull them out of their hold and down to the last intermediate anchor. Simul-Climbing with PCD initially works exactly like Simul-Climbing without PCD. Two climbers have a rope of 30 to 50 meters between them, climb simultaneously and attach as many intermediate anchors as possible. However, in this case, the lead climber attaches the rope to a safe anchor point at intervals that correspond to the length of the rope or a few meters less, by the use of a progress capture device. If the lead climber falls, the system behaves like a normal belay system. If the second climber falls, the rope is held by the clamping function of the PCD. The lead climber cannot continue climbing as long as the second climber is hanging on the rope, but they are not affected by the fall load. So here are the questions that we found when we looked at the systems described by Tommy.
So we're testing kind of worst case scenario for a Simul-Climbing situation that I always think about, whereas if the second person falls and they pull the first person off and we don't have a progress capture device in the system. I know a few people that have actually encountered this and they've survived, but it's always been kind of my biggest worry. This test is even more severe than you'd normally encounter in rock climbing though, just because there's so little rope out. Usually, and when I'm Simul-Climbing, there's 30 to 60 meters of rope between the two climbers. In this scenario, there's probably only, I don't know, 10 meters of rope or something.
In this setup, we attached two 80-kilogram sandbags to a 6 meter long, 10 millimeter single rope. The leading sandbag is 1 meter above the last intermediate anchor, and now the bag following behind falls and pulls the person in front with it, and both fall simultaneously into the anchor. 3, 2, 1. Boring.
That looked pretty chill. 10.5? Ooh, that's pretty bad though, huh?
Yeah, that's bad. In this case, we measured a force of 10.5 kN at the deflection point. The forces are likely to be roughly halved, so the force acting on the two bags was approximately 5 kN each.
I think that that would be survivable, apparently, but bad. But this scenario was more severe than what I think I would encounter climbing just because there's so little rope out. The shorter the rope, the higher the KN is going to be.
Yes.
So if we had 50 meters of rope out, it would be way less.
The force will be less.
Yeah. Okay, so we're repeating a test that we did before, which this is like worst case scenario for a simul-climbing system with no progress capture pulley in place with not that much rope out. This is like as bad as it gets. We're kind of seeing if it breaks with the wrap line.
3, 2.
I think it goes without saying that this is off-label use in terms of manufacturer and standards. 1.
Oh, it broke. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Well, we want to avoid worst case scenario, I guess.
11.7. Yeah, it's the knot.
At the knot,
They
okay.
broke at the knot of the upper.
Of the upper one.
It turns out that the forces involved are greater than the knot strength of the rep line, and the rope breaks at the knot.
I think what I'm wondering is if you're climbing along and you have the project capture device like on a longer sling so it can go up a little bit, and then when the first person falls, the progress capture device goes down, pulls the top person off, they fall, and then they both go to the end. Like, you know, there's a lot of things happening there, but I don't know if we can really set that up.
Basically, you try to attach the PCD as close as possible to the anchor. But what happens if you attach the PCD to a sling that swings downwards in the event of a follower fall, or to a screamer that opens in the event of a follower fall? How great are the forces that reach the lead climber, especially in relation to the length of the rope between the two people?
Yeah, it pulls through quite a bit of rope.
We first set up a short structure with only 10 meters of rope between the two people in our tower. The rope is attached to the lead climber at the top, and then we pull the rope out of the system in 20 centimeter increments at the bottom and measure the forces acting on the lead climber.
Okay, ready?
Now 20 centimeters. That's 20?
Yep.
8. Okay, go for 40.
Right there.
30. Go for 60.
Hold on. You got it?
That's 50. Okay,
So it gets quite heavy.
that's too much.
Yeah.
So 60 centimeter would be definitely too much.
We repeat the same setup on our outdoor facility with several intermediate anchors attached in a zigzag pattern, with 20 meters of ropes in between the two people.
Okay, we can go for 80.
Okay, there's 80.
10.6.
If we look at the results, we can easily see that the more rope is in the system and the more friction we have due to deviations, the less force the lead climber can expect in the case of a fall of the second. Another problem we identified is that many PCDs guide the rope over a pulley. If the person climbing behind falls, the rope is stopped by a clamping function. However, if the person climbing directly above the PCD falls, the rope is deflected over a pulley and the friction is considerably lower than in the case of a fall into a carabiner. So we wanted to test what happens when you have to hold a fall where the rope runs over a pulley. In this case, the fall weight was 60 kilograms and we deflected the rope over the pulley of a spock.
3, 2, 1. It's a bit rocket style.
Okay, so we took the progress capture device out of it and we're just kind of testing, I guess, a just pretty standard fall. Just to compare it to the one with the progress capture pulley.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, I think it's easy to see that the acceleration of the B layer or the second climber is considerably greater when the rope is deflected over a pulley. One problem we have already addressed in the previous knowledge-based post is the fall of the second climber onto a PCD. These clamps are designed by the standard for static loads up to 4 kN. If the person following climbs faster than the person in front, especially near the PCD, which means with little rope between them and the clamp, slack is created in the system and the person following is not immediately held by the clamp but falls into it. The forces that can arise in this situation can exceed 4 kN, which can cause considerable damage to the rope sheath and, in extreme cases, lead to the rope breaking. One solution to this problem is a screamer, a damping device that limits the forces that occur to less than 4 kN. We wanted to demonstrate this combination of PCD, screamer and, in this case, a rep line with our very prominent drop weight.
This is kind of worst case scenario in terms of, you know, simul-climbing with the progress capture pulley. And yeah, I'm about to take a gnarly whip.
Ready?
Okay, yep.
3,
Yep.
2, 1.
Oh, that wasn't so bad. Did it rip the screamer?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, wow.
50 centimeter.
Oh yeah, that was pretty
That
cool.
was cool. Yeah. Okay, nice. I'm happy. How is it? You're good?
Yeah, good. Yeah,
okay.
totally good.
I lower you.
If I would, you know, say we would have 4 meters of rope out, then
It would still be fine.
would I rip the whole streamer?
Yeah, at 4
Maybe.
meter you could get... No, actually, not with your weight. With 80 kilograms, 4 meters you go to the max.
Yeah.
But that's...
Yeah.
I mean, that's the absolute worst case. And we did it in a factor 2 fall.
Yeah.
And this was less than factor 1 now. So, let's sum up. Simultaneous climbing, or simul-climbing, is an application that clearly goes beyond the originally intended use of some mountain sports PPE. There are routes where greater speed means greater safety, or which would be impossible to climb using traditional belay systems due to the time required. On those routes, well-trained and experienced mountaineers can use simultaneous climbing systems. As with LRS, however, it is important to be aware of the changed belay situations and to deal with the risks involved in a considered manner.
Yeah. We need to come up with cooler names though. I mean, this
PCD.
is now like...
I mean, PCD established quite intense.
Yeah, no. I mean, they're pretty fitting ones, but like I think names that
Like
stick to...
like extreme and mega extreme and death wish climbing.
Okay, so
More badass than free soloing.